saw one of my colleagues and he just said, the building's going down, we're going down. And that's when I thought, shit, we actually are going down. It was so violent that it was actually going up and down and I was lifted off the ground. And then the dust was everywhere and I remember it kind of choking me, trying to cough. And then it stopped. I could see the sky, so I knew that our building was munted. As we went for the stairs, we were actually kind of jumping over bits of the building to try and get down, and everyone was, you know, go, 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 like kind of go as fast as you can because they didn't know if another aftershock was going to hit.
Extremely lucky just to have survived is the building's infrastructure is down. Our whole building is gone. It's just smoke and ruin at the moment.
And I was like, holy shit. I can't believe I just got out of there alive.
There's people trapped on the top of our press building. The walls have collapsed around them.
The videographer from work, Daniel Tobin, he came round and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And he's like, can you do work? Yep.
Just say what you feel like now.
Okay. What's the time? 1 o'clock. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
It's just after 1 p.m. on Tuesday, the 22nd of February. We've just been hit by a devastating earthquake in Christchurch again. I'm one of the reporters from the press building. I was upstairs when it hit. Buildings fell down. We're out in Christchurch Cathedral Square at the moment. As you can see, people are just gathering around.
We're in the library, up on the top floor.
The spire of the Christchurch Cathedral has fallen down.
There's dead people. There's people crushed.
No, I went.
People just everywhere. There's a lot of people in shock.
There were just hundreds of people gathered around just thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened. I can't believe this has happened here.
You can see them gathering here today, hugging each other in support, trying to get in touch with people they love to tell them that they're safe or ask if others are safe. But there's no communication in and out of central city of Christchurch at the moment.
All phone networks were down. There were no ambulances. There were no police. There were no officials.
Well, it's gas. It's fucking gas. Oh my gosh.
There's people killed in this.
You were just faced with a broken city.
Are there people in there?
It was madness.
Have a look around, do something.
People are just roaming around, just distraught. No one knows what to do or where to go at the moment. It's hard to explain, really. It's just terrifying.
Show 4, just wonder if an opportunity we could do with an ambulance at S8 or St John's South. We've got quite a few injured people here.
Okay, who needs urgent assistance in Central City?
We had lots of conflicting information coming through. I mean, the problem was communication and information.
Ambulance! Hi! You've got multiple building collapses around.
We've got buildings that have collapsed.
On the top full of bleeding.
I've got a critical here.
Water coming.
You start to build a mental picture and you think that this is quite catastrophic.
We've got major damage throughout the entire thing.
At that point, right at that very point, my day that I knew was going to be changed forever. You have, the choice to either blend into the background or take on a leadership role. So I kind of found myself thrust into that.
We need somewhere we can take all the injured. We're not going to have to get them to the hospital. We've got multiple injuries.
I sent a convoy of vehicles off to Latimer Square, and we set about essentially building a hospital.
And there were just injured people everywhere. And I remember I found one person who looked like they were an authority or an official who could give me a comment, and I just said, I know you're busy and I know you don't have time to talk to me, but can you just please tell me what's going on? What can I tell people right now in Christchurch? And he said, the only thing he said to me was multiple casualties. Tell the people that they're alone for the next 24 hours.
I remember thinking, well, looks like we're turning for some reason. No one had said anything. They turned the plane around and then told us that there had been an earthquake and the control tower had been evacuated and they were returning to Auckland. I rang Susan to see if she was okay. Her phone went through to her voicemail. So I left her a message and then spoke to my two sons and they said they're okay, but it was a really big earthquake.
Now back to Christchurch, where one of the first reporters to broadcast from...
I went up to the Corrie Lounge and it was just chaos up there. Everyone was up there.
And every direction you look at is just absolutely catastrophic. Buildings have tumbled. There's 5 6-story building I can see in front of me.
And they were showing all these shots of Christchurch. They then showed this huge big pile of rubble. And then the camera sort of panned down and they had this sign in front of it which said Canterbury Television House. And I just looked at that and I thought, God, that's the building Susan's in. What I just knew at that point was I needed to get back to Christchurch. We were then told Christchurch Airport was closed to all flights, other than emergency flights.
Keep it yelling. You hear people screaming like that.
Just needed another shot. Move back. Just keep away from the edge.
Everybody's back!
We were given a tasking to go around to the PGC building to take some medications. I guess you're wondering how you're going to brace yourself when you see some people that have got crush injuries or have been crushed, and there was a likelihood we were going to see them. You'd see the building as a whole as a damaged building, and if you look closely, it's like one of those pictures. You can see something in the background, and then you start to see people that were still trapped, obviously dead, still in the rubble. You see limbs hanging out. You can make out faces in the rubble, and that was probably the most sobering thing, knowing that people had gone about their daily lives and all of a sudden it had been stopped. There's fire people, a lot of police, and I guess you could say just construction workers. Ultimately, they were our rescue guys at the time, having best knowledge of a building site.
Get into Pineville, Guinness, there's people dying everywhere and it's a mess, no one knows what they're doing.
My expectations were that I would get there and help to move rubble. I had no expectation that we'd be involved in a full rescue. There was someone holding the ladder and I assumed my job would be to hold a ladder.
We stood there for about 5 minutes expecting someone to tell us what to do, and Tony and I just looked at each other and put our hard hats on and climbed up the ladder, and the first sight we got was there was a guy caught under his left shoulder. A major beam had come down. There was a medic there and the guy was on a drip. And I was just watching the medic's body language. And I was just looking into the guy's face, and I wasn't speaking, but I was just reassuring. In my mind, everything's going to be right, we're going to get him out. He had one more shot of morphine. He looked at me, and then he was gone. And I was like, I got it wrong. I misinterpreted everything. What if, if I'd known, I could have spoken to him or got his name or that last.
When it collapsed, he was somehow pushed to the side and had half the top floor across his arm and leg. There's nothing we could do for him. All we could do is make him comfortable. I gave him a whole lot of medications that essentially put him to sleep, but took his pain away as well. Died in his sleep, which is probably a good thing. I don't think we would have been able to free him. He wouldn't have lived, I doubt.
Two more people were trapped, and within a 5-minute period, they both died. So it was 3 people had died in front of me in a short period of time.
I couldn't see anything, it was pitch black. The ceiling had come to about, it was just above me and I was on my hands and knees. That's when I realised that something heavy was on my back, and I was just screaming to one of the girls that I could hear, that I knew the most, to come and get it off my back. I thought it was my desk, so I just kept yelling out, the desk's on my back and it's so heavy and I can't get out from under it. I couldn't see my phone. I could hear it buzzing behind me. I just couldn't reach it.
No one's really too sure to do. They're just staying as well clear of those buildings as they can.
The whole image of the CTV building played time and time again.
Our building, where we have our offices, has just been...
And it was just, got worse and worse, and I was starting to really worry. This guy walked into the building we're in and said, look, we've got a air ambulance that we're taking down to Christchurch. We've just delivered a child up to Starship Hospital. We're going back. And we've got one seat. Would someone like it? And I just said, oh, well, that'll be me. I'll go.
Buildings came down. There's people underneath the rubble down here.
Me and Dan's main focus was to film what was happening in Christchurch and to get it out for people to see what had just happened to our city.
Is anyone in there?
There's a person trapped in this building here. Rescue team's going on here. This lady's just been dragged out of the rubble.
Hey guys, we need someone over here. We've got another trapper.
So close to death. Had to drag people out of the rubble?
Sorry? No.
No,
there's people in here trapped and dead. Yeah.
There's a dead body. There's a dead person underneath that blanket. Come from the prison cell. Yeah. From the prison cell.
Well, it doesn't matter, mate. Have some respect.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, it's fine. Go down there.
I saw a woman with blood just all over her face, and I heard her say Libby, and that's my name. So I turned around and I realised that she was a really close family friend of mine, and I hadn't recognised her because her nose was, to put it graphically, hanging off her face, and I couldn't tell it was her. And she remembered a bit of building coming down, and she explained it as being squashed like a staple. I sat behind her and I tried to support her so she could breathe properly, but I could hear from her breathing that there was blood in her lungs. And that's when I started to cry. It became real when I saw her injured, because she was real to me. She wasn't just someone I was documenting. She wasn't someone I was writing about in my notepad. She was Jane Taylor. She was one of my best friend's mothers, and she was gravely injured.
Yeah, okay,
And she had all her rib cage broken, one of her lungs punctured, her pelvis broken, her neck fractured, her skull fracture.
This is him coming out now.
And then Shane Tomlin, he got pulled out. And he was making that same inhuman groaning noise, and you can just tell that there's something seriously wrong. And then Jane lost consciousness. They had to choose between taking Jane or Shane to hospital. And at that point, Shane was still making these noises, but Jane was unconscious. I mean, you know, they rock in a hard place really, but they got Jane there and flew her straight to Wellington Hospital.
scene of utter devastation. If we had everything on our side of the last earthquake in terms of the timing in the middle of the night where people weren't around, it has been the polar opposite this time. While we are doing everything we possibly can, I want to give people an absolute reassurance that we're dispatching as many people as we can. We've got about 180 police working on the ground here, 200 extra police coming in, 350 military people with another 250 on their way. I don't think we can go past the fact that we may well be witnessing New Zealand's darkest day.
We had a list of people that had been made contact with, and they were trapped on the second floor. And it was just basically smashing concrete. Probably an hour and a half to 2 hours to break through on the first floor. We broke through, Tony and I dropped down, and it was just absolute mayhem. And the first thing I saw was 2 black shoes. And I just naturally thought, yep, that's the first person we're going to get out alive. And Tony shook his legs and he said to me, oh, mate, he's not looking too good. And I just naturally thought, he's injured, we'll get the medic down and it'll be fine. Then we heard his voice. Oh, that's such and such. I've checked his pulse, he's dead. And I looked at Tony, he looked at me, and there was a lady there. And there was only one way to get her out, and it was over that body.
Yep, there it is. Oh, lucky lady. All right, just get on there. Just hold, guys. Just... No, I can't believe what they did. Awesome. Now, well done, Ted. All right,
He went from here to there within minutes. It was constantly emotionally up, down, up, down, up, down.
I lost the feeling in my legs within the first 20, 30 minutes. And then I felt it starting to leave my arms and my body. So I started squeezing my hands like this. And then that wasn't enough, so I'd squeeze them like this and move my head at the same time just to keep the blood flowing through my body. I think if I had stopped doing that, I would have gone. I was stuck in that position and sort of a curled over fetal position for the next, I think, 4 to 5 hours. You just had to focus. I was worrying about family and my grandparents and just friends, and every time my phone was ringing, I was worrying about, you know,
Flying into Christchurch, just see this big pool of smoke. I thought, God, that'll be, that's CTV building. You know, I didn't even know it started burning at that point. And I rang Matt, my son, and he came and collected me. The whole city was sealed off. Police were stopping people going in. So I said, look, you know, my wife's in that building and I need to get there. So this policeman obviously looked at me and saw how serious I was. So he said, oh, you better jump in the back of the car. They still had bodies on the footpaths covered up with tarpaulins at that point because I'm so busy looking for people. And it was, yeah, it's just the most surreal sort of feeling. You could see bits of the CTV building. It was obviously down and it was burning. There were various rumours going on at the time that they'd found 15 people in a cavity and that they're all okay and they were going to be getting them out. We all immediately thought that we were going to get our loved ones out of that building. I rang Susan's cell phone every hour and left her a message. If you're in there, just wait. We're not far away. And I tried to give her as much support and love as I could. And I wanted her to hear my voice.
I was losing so much energy and I thought, if you don't get me out now, it's been about 5-6 hours, I'm gonna die. I just knew there wasn't much left in me. I think every 20 minutes or so I just screamed my lungs out. I was just in so much pain. Some men outside, they started sledgehammering in through the second floor. There was this ray of light which was like this wee bit of hope that we were going to get rescued. They managed to get in and they were only about 3 metres away and still couldn't see me. This fireman, he said to me that he was going to try and pull me out, and I said, no, you can't pull me out, I'm really stuck. I still thought it was just the desk or something. So he looked behind me and then basically went, oh, crap. A 6-ton beam had dropped on my lower back. They finally got this heavy-duty equipment. He said to me, I'm going to pull you. I'm going to pull you so hard, no matter what happens. And you're going to get out, and if anything happens, don't worry, because I'm here with you. It may have stayed up only about a second, this beam, and then dropped. And that's when the blood started rushing through the lower half of my body again, and The pain was just excruciating. And I was trying to keep my eyes open, and I was trying to, with all the strength I had left, I was trying to hang in there, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And I just didn't know how bad I was.
As the end of the day for me was drawing to a close, a girl had been pulled out of the building and she was severely injured. And by the time they were ready to transport her, they were having to resuscitate her. And, you know, I said to the doctors, you know, they'd done a really tough job, or an excellent job in trying to stabilise her, but she just continued to deteriorate. And I said, you know, that Christchurch Hospital are no longer taking critically ill patients. They're being flown now to Dunedin or Wellington. I said, you know, we can't justify a helicopter for this woman if she's being resuscitated. You know, the chances of her surviving are very remote. You know, so we had to make the tough decision of basically putting her into the back of the tent, and they sat with her and held her hand while she died. So there were a number of, you know, tough decisions where you think, my God, you know, people have risked their lives digging her out, you know, doing all of that. And for us then to turn around and say, can't get her to Wellington, you know, it was really hard, but that was the kind of the reality of the situation. So I think that you know, there's a few things that plague you, I guess.
That sort of made up the rest of the night, going from person to person that had been either dragged out, assessing them. People had been crushed under chairs or office equipment or beams. Near the end of the night, they could hear 6 voices from 6 different places. And I think they were able to get 3 of them out. They didn't hear from the others again, and I think they'd died from their injuries.
As it grew darker, it started raining, and we had blankets wrapped around us. We were just basically looking into hell. I stayed there for about 30 hours, waiting. It was an absolutely surreal situation, standing there in your suit, wrapped in a blanket with your son, looking into hell.
I don't know what time was. Time just flew, and it was around about 3 a.m. in the morning. I was just happened to look across towards the river, and I saw these 2 lines of men in black uniforms and gold hats, and I had no idea who they were, what it was. They were looking up at us. Anyway, one of them came up and was a squad leader, and he said, I'm now in charge of the site and we're going to take over. And he'd been briefed by the fire chief down below, said, you're going to get resistance from these guys up there. And we just said, it's all yours. For me, I grew up that night on the on the Pine Guinness site. It was, I'd learnt what humility was. I'd learnt what humanity was, and I understood what self-leadership was. There was a group of 20-odd construction guys that went into that job as strangers and just came out as a band of brothers. It was pretty profound.
Dawn came, the fire had started to calm down. Eventually they came and said, look, we're down to the 3rd floor and there aren't any survivors there, and I'm really sorry to tell you that. I was trying to calculate where Susan's office would have been. And so she was on the 4th floor at the back of the building. And so when I looked down this alleyway, I could tell that that's where her office would have been if the building was still up. And when you just looked at the rubble there and the smoke pouring out of it, I really thought, man, I just knew she was in there, and I knew she wasn't coming out at that point. Matt and I, we went off, the police took our names and all the details, and so I went home. And that was really hard because, yeah, there's the washing all folded up, and it's just like she shot down to the shops or something.
By the Thursday, it was stated that all work on the CTV site would now be recovery and not rescue, and there were no survivors left. It had to be managed as if it was a crime site.
Tony and I just had this unspoken understanding that we'd go there because in Maori culture, it's all about getting the ones that are deceased back to their families for closure.
For the first 3 or 4 days, I kept a tally of how many bodies were recovered. After a certain number, I stopped counting. Am I glad I did it? Yeah. Does it have a lot of impact on me? Yeah. Was there a lot of trauma? Yes. Would I do it again? Yeah.
From the scans, they knew I had a fractured pelvis. I put on 25 kg of fluid, which was as a result of a crush injury. Because I was on dialysis and had kidney failure, they couldn't give me painkillers. I was just on basics. The pain was always 10 out of 10, and I was on amputation watch for my legs. I was in hospital for 3.5 months, learning to walk again, yeah. I wanted to get out of hospital. You know, I wanted to run again, and maybe one day I will, I don't know. But I was determined to get out.
I got an incredible opportunity following the earthquake to write the memoriam tribute to the victims. There are 185 victims, and I was given the chance to call the family members and pull the photographs from all over the world. And that gave me closure. I can still name where some people were, where they died. I know the names of the people who died in City Mall. I know the names of the people who died in PGC, the people who died on the hills, and I won't forget that. And that was an experience that you can't not change from.
Every day they were announcing the names of people that they had found in the building, and every day we were waiting for Susan's name to be announced, because I was starting to get worried that we may end up never finding her, and always wondering what had happened. Yeah, I had days just lying on the floor at home in the fetal position, howling my eyes out for 2 or 3 days on end sometimes. But it actually helped. The good news was that she was identified. It took 5 weeks through dental records, so we were able to have a funeral, and it was an amazing celebration of her life. It was really... All of us are far better people for having had Susan in our lives than we would have been with never ever having met her. Susan has actually got us through this. Her spirit, every now and again you can hear her saying, "Don't worry about this, get going, you know, you'll be all right."
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.